Okay, welcome back to the Brazen Podcast. I'm here today with Candace Ramirez of Moon Honey Media. She's a content manager for creative women-run small businesses based in Seattle, but she works with people all around the world. And today we're going to talk about mental health and how that affects connection with people and connecting and being an entrepreneur, because obviously when your business and your brain are pretty much the same thing for a while, the two are very interconnected as far as health goes. So Candace, could you start by telling me a little more about how you became someone who speaks and talks and writes about mental health in business? Because I've followed you on Instagram for a while and I think it's amazing, but I don't actually know your history.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I've been really excited to talk to you about this. It's kind of a passion cause of mine. Let's see where to start. I was in 2016 diagnosed with PTSD, and I'm really open about it. I'm not the type to kind of like hide things. So for me, it's because of an abusive relationship that I was in from like my senior year of high school on for like almost 5 years. I'm 29, so it's been a while, but I didn't find out really that I had PTSD until 2016, which is also when I got my first like real job, my first big girl PR job at a tech company in Seattle. And yeah, it just became one of those things where, I think like a mental health diagnosis, and mine was very trauma heavy. It impacts you at work. And so, me kind of going through that journey of like, when I was first diagnosed, I felt super alone and freaked out because, I still kind of thought, what PTSD isn't that like, that's military people, right? That's not something you get from a relationship. Like I didn't know anything about it really.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't think I knew anyone else who had it. And it was pretty isolating because it was a scary process, and beginning that work of sorting through the trauma so that I could heal. It was very intense for a long time. And once I started, I had one girl who actually sat next to me at work reach out to me during like a leave of absence that I took from work to kind of deal with things. Um, and I told her that I had been diagnosed with PTSD, and it turned out she had it too. And that was kind of that first taste that I got of, okay, it's really helpful for me to connect with other people and find out that like I'm not alone in this, and that other people that I know and respect and look up to um, have gone through the same thing and are further along in their healing journey. Like being able to see kind of what's possible from a place where you're really struggling, I think is really super helpful. I found it very grounding because I didn't know what healing looked like. I thought initially like, oh, I'll go to therapy for 2 months and then I'll be cured. And it's like, that's not how it works. So just being able to see a realistic, like, okay, well, she's really got things together and she's accomplished and strong, and she's also got PTSD. So just kind of, yeah, I found that super healing, being able to see what was possible. And that kind of started me down that path of, okay, I want to build a community of people around me who not even necessarily just people who have PTSD, but people who are on their own mental health journey and doing the work to heal, and who are open to talking about those things because there is such a stigma around it. Um, and yeah, and from there too, I initially was talking about it more in terms of working at a company and how to disclose things to your employers, and just what that's like, how to make work more comfortable for yourself working for another company. But then I started my own business, and it turned out there were all kinds of new challenges that came along there with like, well, now my whole business is me. Now I have to deal with all of my like fears and anxieties while also figuring out how to put those aside or, overcome them so that I can run a business. And um, yeah, and it's one of those things, like, if I'm going through it, I know like tons of other women are too. So
Yeah.
just, I make a point to be that person that I was looking for when I was first diagnosed. And when I was desperate to meet other women who had been there and who um, could demonstrate that it's going to be okay and that I can still do things. So yeah, I feel like I've been going on for a while, but that's
No,
kind of
you
how
said
that started.
you said so many things that I want to touch on, but the first thing was, I feel like that's such a common thread right now in finding in conversations that are happening around the world about experiences and mental health and things that happen, that people are like, oh, I didn't think that had happened to anyone that I know until it happened to me. And now, like, um, a lot of the conversation around Chrissy Teigen's, you know, miscarriage lately, people saying, oh my God, nobody, like, I didn't know anyone who had it, I thought, until it happened to me and I shared. And suddenly my best friend and my cousin and my aunt, and, and I think
Yeah,
it's such a crazy thing that we still, silence is such an issue because,
yeah,
like you said, it's um, the stigma around it.
yeah. And I understand and support people wanting to keep something like that private. Like, that's okay. But I do think that if you are comfortable with speaking up about experiences that are stigmatized in some way, I think that it can be really powerful for, like, I don't think people tend to realize how many people they could help just by saying, like, hey, this happened to me, and like,
Yeah,
be okay.
I agree
um
with you completely. It's not like anyone has to share or needs to feel pressured to share, but what you said about, you want to be the person that you wish you had known when you
yeah,
went through that is so powerful.
I remember the first time I one of the first few times that I started, like, opening up about my journey with PTSD, just on my Instagram, like way before I started a business or started even talking about it at work much. I had a girl reach out to me who was like, I'm really struggling with PTSD, and um, it's so, she like thanked me for talking about it and said that I had helped her. And I had no idea at that point that anybody was finding what I was talking about helpful. um so I just kind of like try to remember her, and it's like, if she spoke up, surely there are like other women out there who haven't said anything to me but who are, impacted by that. I just because, I mean, I find it so impactful, and I don't always speak up when somebody says something that I find helpful or that is healing for me. So I just kind of want to put more of that out there.
Yeah,
And
it's like you may never see,
yeah,
you know, what happened because you shared. That doesn't mean there wasn't anything there.
yeah,
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember who said it, but it's like, why bother? Because out there somewhere, there's a person with a wound in the shape of your words,
yeah,
and I feel like that is so especially relevant for what you're talking about.
yeah. It's, one of my business coaches, I've worked with a couple. It's something like, there's always somebody listening, even if you don't find out about it. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's, if you're comfortable with it, important to talk about those things.
I think that's really beautiful to remember too, because I feel like a lot of times when people are especially trying to like grow a social media presence or connect with people online, it feels like they're kind of shouting into the void when they're sending emails, and maybe there's not necessarily a response. But I feel like when you're really authentic and you share something because it means something to you, not
Yeah.
just like sales emails that are just straight up like, it's
Yeah.
$97. Like, I don't care about that right now. But those kind of messages, absolutely, because I feel like the response is not something you can measure at all.
Yeah.
The fact, and also the benefit to you of putting your message out there, no matter whether anybody's listening or not.
Yeah.
There is something powerful about saying, you know what, this is my story and I can own it if I want to.
Yeah, exactly. Um, you know, I think part of what I was finding, like even just when I was first diagnosed, I was looking for books where it was like somebody talking about, I have PTSD or like these mental health issues. And here's how I healed from them and like learned to thrive through it. Um, but all I was finding were like clinical, like really dry clinical books, or like a memoir that was just kind of like really sad and gloom and doom. And it's like, I want to I want there to be more folks out there who are like willing to be real and talk about like things that are genuine and like be upfront about it if like you're struggling with something, but also share like the positive side and all of the growth that can come out of those things.
Like writing the thing you want to read is
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
way.
Um, I don't know. I feel like that kind of translates to everything when it comes to like content and business. It's just like just be real and
Yeah.
like, will come along. Um, I've had several instances where someone reached out to me and was like, oh, I've been following you for months and I've been wanting to say something and I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. And like that happened. I've heard plenty of other business owners mention that. So like there's always someone listening. And you may not find out about it for a long time, but they're there and like eventually you'll cross paths.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the impact of just sharing your perspective and your journey and what you have overcome, like, I think sometimes people think if I share this, this defines me in some way. And I understand why that's a fear, but I don't think it's true. I think, first of all, not everyone who hears about you or comes across your work is ever going to see that part of your story you shared or that video or whatever. And second of all, it is separate from you, and people who connect with that may not necessarily connect with the stuff you share for your business, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think the two are stronger than the sum of their parts, rather than people saying, well, you have to be one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to remember that like a mental health diagnosis is not your whole identity. Like it's not who you are, it's not your whole personality. It's part of your journey. And I think that is kind of a trap that I see people fall into sometimes is like, oh, this is all I can talk about, or this is who I am. Like it's a big part of me. And it's like, I mean, in some cases, maybe that's true, but I don't think it's something that we should like let ourselves be limited to, you know?
Yeah, I think I I know what you are referring to, and I felt that um, tendency in myself and seeing it happen. And it's like, I've been reading Glennon Doyle lately, and so everything it's like kind of like permeating the way I think. And it's something she said something along the way that like knowing who you are in yourself is knowing two things. One, that you're not just complying or like, and to me that's like staying silent or whatever. And but it's also not rebellion necessarily, because rebellion is like um, doing something reactionary because of what everyone is telling you. And I think sometimes we fall into the trap of being like, no, I have to talk about this. I have to all the time because no one else is. And I think I've done that myself with like the election. It's like, oh my God, I can't talk about anything else.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same, but
Yeah.
I think we often forget that it's okay to have balance,
Yeah.
because it is so easy to get out of balance with these really important topics. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
if you,
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's balance is different, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is. And there's I made a video about this and I thought that it was going to like upset people, but it ended up getting a pretty good response. where I was just kind of talking about like the self-care culture of social media and how I do think that self-care is important, and like it's something that I will always have as a part of my life. But there is this kind of mentality that I see on social media, often directed at business owners, where it's like always just kind of like always be gentle with yourself, always give yourself a break, always like just um, you know, if you're stressed, just stop working. And I feel like buying into that too much makes it impossible to like start and run a business. I feel like, especially if you are struggling with a mental health issue, it's important to have that self-care, but then also balance it out with motivation and drive and goals. And that's something that I struggled a lot with. And for a while after my diagnosis, there was no way that I could have started a business. I needed to work on my mental health. I needed that self-care. But I think there comes a point when it's time to like, okay, I'm in a place where I'm stable and I have done some healing, and like now it's time to make some goals. It's time to like, if you feel like there's something bigger out there for you, if you think that maybe I do want to build something for myself. I started surrounding myself with women who inspired me. And that ended up being a lot of women who ran their own businesses and who had overcome mental health issues and built something really cool for themselves. So yeah, I think that's really important. Because I see there's a lot of, social media is a huge part of my job. And there's a lot of that just always take it easy mentality, always take it easy for your mental health. And then there's also, I'm sure you've probably seen, like there are plenty of accounts on there where they're just talking about like depression as kind of a meme, as like anxiety and depression as like a core facet of your personality. And I think it's good to be able to talk about those things and to be able to, everybody needs to have access to treatment for those things, but they're not your personality. And I think like leaning on it as a meme or as like an excuse to never do anything completely jeopardizes your chances of starting a business.
I
I
think
don't know.
it
I'm
goes
very
back to, I was gonna say, going back to like what you said about self-care, I think that balance is for me finding caring for myself right now without
yeah.
forgetting that I'm also responsible for my future self. And so my self-care
Yeah.
looks like taking care of that person too, who I'm going to be in 10 years, as well as right now. And something that has been a part of my journey has been thinking, how could I be a good mother to myself right now? Like, would I tell myself to take it easy, or would I tell myself, hey, it's time, you got to get it done, like it's time to do your homework, like you have to care about your future?
And there's absolutely room for both of those things. Like sometimes
Absolutely.
take it easy. Sometimes we need someone to just tell us that it's going to be okay, and we need a break, and we need to be gentle, and that's totally okay. But I do, like you said, I advocate strongly for knowing when it's time, when you're ready to like step up and get motivated. And
Yeah. And sometimes you need an outside perspective for that, like, a friend to talk to about, hey, am I working too hard? Or a therapist. Like that's been great for
yeah.
me, is my therapist being like, you could give yourself a break in this instance. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that, with just like wanting to work around the clock. And so, I mean, keep that in mind for anyone listening to this. Like, I tend a little too hard the other way sometimes, where I want to just like keep working even when I do need a break. So I think it's important, like whichever end of the spectrum you kind of gravitate to find some balance and like
Yeah.
do take care of yourself, but also make sure that you have kind of systems in place or people in your community who kind of inspire you
Yeah, like
to.
those checks and balances. If you know what your weakness is, you can be like, oh, I might be doing that thing that I do.
Yeah, I feel like at times kind of the self-care Instagram culture at times has sort of like enabled me to stay in this one place where I'm like, oh, I'm damaged. I have PTSD and that's who I am. And like, I can't accomplish anything cool. And I just need to be gentle with myself all the time. And I mean, that's my own thing too. That's not like the fault of anybody's social media account, but uh, I mean, that's why I bring it up. Like I needed to start bringing people and start like meeting people who inspired me so that I could kind of break out of that. Like, you know, it's like you can find someone to tell you whatever it is that you want to hear. So
That's true.
I got into this like lull where I just wanted to hear self-care messages. I just wanted to hear that I'm okay where I am and that I don't need to like try harder.
And I think that's like it makes what you're talking about makes me think about this year being, a lot harder for a lot of people than other years
Yeah.
have been. And knowing that there are phases where, maybe for a while you needed that self-care and you needed to take it slower and give yourself a break. And
Yeah.
there are phases where you're like, all right, so maybe for a while now I might have to work a little harder than I really want to, but that's
Yeah.
because I know what I'm building and I want to make it. And I'm going
Yeah.
to go ahead now and put checks in place so that I know someone is going to say, hey, are you working too hard right now? Like, do you need to take a break?
Yeah.
Just checking
Yeah.
in, making sure that you look out for yourself.
One thing that I have started doing recently to stop myself from just like working around the clock, I started using a Pomodoro timer. I use Toggle, is Toggl, and they have like a browser extension where I can just kind of time myself and like track the actual projects that I'm working on. And I use the Pomodoro setting, which times you for like 25 minutes, and then it goes off, and you like take a break, and then you go back in.
Those are
And that helps
amazing.
me so much, just to like find that balance.
Yeah, I used to have a Pomodoro app, but lately I've just been tracking rather than trying to use the timer. And I use Rescue Time, and it helps me see like, it'll send me an email at the end of every week and be like, hey, you spent 25% more hours on your screens this week, or is everything okay? And I'm like,
Gosh,
oh.
I a fear of looking at like how much time I spend on like Instagram or TikTok on my phone. Because
I love the thing that's like, hey, you've reached your limit for the day. And then
yeah,
you can extend it for 15 more minutes or whatever. And I do that almost every day, but at least it's in my head. I'm like, oh, I already spent 45 minutes on
yeah,
Twitter. So maybe it's time to close that down.
yeah, it's really hard because I my work is like I manage social media for clients and I
Right.
do all of the social media for my own business. And then also I like it just personally. So
Yeah.
it's
And
like
those are so separate.
all of those things and it's like, well, that's my whole day.
I think it's really interesting because you said something earlier about how, like, working for yourself is pretty isolating, and it's very different from working in, an office where you have people next to you that you can chat with, and community becomes something that you have to work for so much harder, I think,
Yeah.
than it's like going from being a teenager in high school to an adult who's like, oh wait, I have to make friends now. What? Like,
Yeah.
um,
It's crazy. I've started doing something though that has really helped me. I do a ton, like I'm networking all the time, mostly on Instagram because that's just where I spend my time.
same.
But um, more people should realize that like you don't have to go to LinkedIn or like a town hall event to network. Like you can do it where you spend your time anyway. And I
Absolutely.
meet so many awesome women business owners on there. And
We
when
met on Instagram.
yeah, I mean exactly. And it's like when I meet someone that I really connect with, get on a call with with them. I like
Absolutely.
a few women that we do like a one-on-one Zoom call every week or every month, and we just kind of check in with each other and like brainstorm ideas for each other's business and like vent about things. And like there's one that I chatted with for the first time yesterday, and we're gonna get on a Zoom call next week and just do some kind of like mock sales calls with each other
Oh,
because
that's awesome.
graphic designer, I'm a content manager. We both have to do sales calls and they're uncomfortable. So we just want to get on a call and like practice them. And it's just been really cool doing that because, you know, I don't have coworkers. Like I work
Yeah.
house alone, which is what I always wanted to do. But it's really nice to be able to like build friendships that way and have some like one-on-one interactions with people and like we're both on that business owner journey so we can support each other and just kind of like it's a big huge part of your life that you can connect with someone
Yeah.
over.
And I think what you said about connecting with people where you're hanging out anyway, because yeah, I'm the same. When I moved to Dallas, I tried those networking events and stuff, and it's like it was just insurance salesmen, honestly. Um, don't spit your coffee. But yeah, when I connect with people on Instagram, it's people who I already have something in common with because we're both usually following each other or one of us is following the other. So it makes me like, oh, I already know you. Or you may not know me yet, but I feel like we have some things in common. So you have things to talk about. And
Yeah,
that's I also, I was talking about this with Caroline in the last episode that I feel like the world is a little more open to and receiving of this method of connection that we've been using for a while. Like you've been connecting with people on Zoom, but like for a huge portion of Americans, they're like, wait, oh, we can just like chat on Zoom? That's a thing
yeah,
that you can do?
yeah,
And yeah.
it's
And
new to them.
so it's a great opportunity to me. It's like the silver lining of all of this has been, oh, I can connect with my friends who live in other states because now all of a sudden they're doing a weekly Zoom call and they've never been open
Yeah,
to that before. So it's like
yeah,
I've been able to reconnect and I'm very grateful for that silver lining, and I hope more people see that opportunity in the coming months as things continue because it doesn't seem like they're going anywhere right now.
yeah. I wanted people to get more open to like remote work and all of the
Yes.
things that go along with that for a long time. I remember telling my advisor in college, I want to work from home. And she was like, you're gonna need to work like 60-hour weeks for 10 years before anybody lets you work from home. And I was just
Well,
like, uh-uh.
she didn't see this coming. Also, there are pros and cons, it's I feel like especially if you're on a journey where you're like figuring out what your needs are, it's amazing because you can test different things. For me, it's
Yeah,
like, okay, I can see what kind of schedule really works for me and what
yeah,
doesn't. And I go, there were phases when I didn't work enough and there were phases when I worked all fucking day.
yeah,
And it's finding a balance, but you have so much more autonomy. But
yeah.
also you don't have coworkers. And so yeah, there are pros and cons. And I've been doing something. I'm going to go for a shameless plug right now. I've been doing a connection challenge with myself where I like reach out to someone every day in different ways, and I want to share that with some other people. So I'm going to link that in the show
Cool.
notes with like just action steps to do every day to get that kind of connection on Instagram or wherever you hang out, because you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. It's where you hang out. You can't there's no point in inventing the wheel and starting from scratch
yeah,
somewhere else that you don't even enjoy hanging out, unless it's
yeah.
TikTok, in which case I absolutely recommend starting because I'm obsessed.
Yeah, TikTok has been way more fun than I expected. Like I didn't want to like it for some. I thought it was
Same.
just high schoolers, and I was like, I downloaded it a couple times without making an actual account, and it just seemed like chaos. A bunch of high schoolers singing and dancing and lip syncing, and I was like, this is not for me. But once I made an account and started like following hashtags that were relevant to me, and like following some of my friends I actually know on there and business owners that I already like, the algorithm started figuring out like what I'm about. And now it's really cool and it's full of business owners and dogs and it's
You know,
perfect.
I skipped that phase of having to figure that out. I don't know if they tracked me for years before I downloaded it or what, but as soon as I logged in, it was like, here's some book jokes. Here's some like people angry about politics right now. Here's some like just everything that I love. And it was like, this is amazing.
I'm really into farm TikTok. Just like I follow a bunch of farm hashtags and I'm getting, which is like I did not grow up on a farm, but it's just a bunch of like really calm, serene videos of people's sheep and like emus and pretty
I'm gonna
fields
find it
like
right now.
hummus and stuff. So that's one that I'm a big fan of, like baby farm animals and um, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm a fan.
Somebody was telling me about river TikTok the other day, which is just like learning about rivers and tributaries and all kinds of tidal rivers. It's great.
Yeah.
Food TikTok. Just there's also an entire toast talk. That's a couple of chefs I follow. Chef John Kong. I think I'll have I'm gonna link his I can't remember, but there's so many people who make amazing toast. Oh,
Okay. There's TikTok for everything.
yeah. Anyway, well, this has been great chatting. I think we're at 45 minutes, unless that's the wrong time. But thank you so much for joining. So if you are interested in learning more about Candace and following her on Instagram, where she hangs out, it's Moon Honey Media. Oh, and TikTok is also Moon Honey Media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can find out more about her work at moonhoneymedia.com. And aren't your packages moon themed, if I remember correctly?
Oh yeah, the names of them are, but basically what I do, I have a kind of solopreneur friendly social media only package where we get your Instagram and um, one other network if you would like, all up to speed, and I manage it for you for the whole month. Then I have another package with kind of a step up, and we do all that stuff plus some strategic blogging, and you get video prompts and things like that. And then also, I have one other package where I revamp all the copy on your website for you.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And thanks so much for joining me. I know our conversation was a little varied and went in some different directions, and that's my favorite kind. So thanks for being here.
It's natural.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.